Welcome to another edition of the Pearl Polto Show. This is the show to educate you right there in your household. We have an exciting, good show today, and I try to put educational shows on so you understand. But before I even bring my guest on or even talk about the show, next week is Christmas, and I won't be here. And I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and you all of you have, which I'll say at the end of the show, my special. If you have a credit problem, it goes to January 1st, so please take advantage of it or give it away to somebody else as a gift. So I'm going to say at the beginning of the show, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. And if you have a credit problem, now's the time to do it for the price that you have it. But anyway, today, last week and the week before that, I had a mortgage person on. And I'm going to be honest, and all my clients know I'm super honest with them. I'm going to say it like it is, if they like it or not. But when it comes to real estate, I never was going to have a real estate agent on. Why? It's not that I didn't like them, and we're going to find out all these answers today. But my guest today I do like, but he's going to give us the answers, and he's the right one. He's the right agent. But I'm going to ask them questions, and then I'm going to interrupt them at times because of what I had to go through, what my clients had to go through, and only he would know the answers with it. First of all, I'd like to welcome Anthony. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Pearl Polto Show, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Pearl, for having me. I appreciate that. For everybody who's out there watching and listening, happy holidays as well.
Oh, that's good with it. Okay, the first question I have to you is, what is the difference between a real estate agent and a realtor, or is there no difference?
There is a difference between a realtor and a real estate agent. Real estate agent does not have to apply by certain guidelines. As a realtor, we are members of boards of Realtors National Association as well as county associations. We had a code of ethics to follow. And within those code of ethics, is pretty much putting our clients before our best interests, having their best interests at hand at all times, no matter what it has to deal with coming to the sale. Not pretty much saying, you don't want to push the sale in your best interest. You want to have their best interest. If something doesn't work out, you got to spend time with them. Good faith, honesty, loyalty, integrity, all the above, and just keep moving forward. That meets their needs.
What is the difference now? As you know, I do credit. Is a client wasting their time or are you wasting your time? If somebody comes to you with a credit problem and they say, I want a house, will you tell them no, or do you try it?
I always try. Something with my upbringing and my work ethic, everybody needs a chance. Everybody has a story. Everybody goes through their own certain things in life, and everybody deserves something. I don't like to turn nobody away. I'm always willing to give a hard effort to try to get them to where they need to go. With credit issues, sometimes it's a little harder because we have the guidelines for the banks and things on that end. But we will try to follow up with different mortgage brokers to see if they can pull something off, as well as reaching out to you, Pearl. And just try different strategy scenarios, or give them a good pathway to maybe increase their credit scores down the future, or maybe work some things off to see how they can increase their credit very rapidly depending on their time frame, or just pretty much give them a path, a right direction.
If you know they have a credit problem, though, why would you give it to a mortgage company that would turn them away?
Some mortgage companies do not, depending on the credit score. I work with a few people that had some credit issues in the past. Certain brokers would not be willing to do so, and others have.
How can a consumer, this is a question from one of the clients, how can a consumer save money? Can they bypass you? Let's say you see a real estate in front of the house, a sign. And the sign is in front of the house, and you say, well, he's going to make a commission, and he's going to charge me this, and he's going to charge me that. Can they bypass you?
Of course. Anybody can do this on their own.
They don't know it, though. They don't know that. How would they do it?
They do not know that, and everybody has one good thing about us realtors, real estate agents, anybody within the real estate field, is that everybody has an everyday life. They have their job, they have their families to do. we specialize in the process of getting from start to finish, from going through inspections, through negotiations. We know the whole terms and the guidelines through our contracts, through the state contracts that they have in place to buy or sell property. So it just comes to that. Sometimes you can get into a deal in negotiations and you really want the house, but the other side is not meeting your needs or trying to meet in the middle. Sometimes us realtors can help you get there and show, kind of show them what they could be losing out on, or trying to meet them in the middle ourselves, and negotiate on those terms. Somebody walks away from a property, who knows when the next buyer is coming through? Or for a buyer, if you walk away from that house that meets every point in your criteria, who knows when the next one will come down? And you don't know if somebody else would come up and have competition. It's a very competitive market. Buyers make the market. You don't know who else is putting an offer on the property as well. So you need some kind of connections, I guess, in that standpoint. But it can get very stressful if you're trying to take this on yourself. There's terms, there's time frames, scheduling. There's a lot involved, more than what anybody can possibly think of, and it's very time consuming to get everything wrapped up on time. And sometimes with your daily lives, with your work schedule, with your family, your kids, or your actual activities that you do, sometimes taking that stress off of your level will help smooth that process out for you as well. And with that being said, on the buy side, usually buyers don't pay for agents to represent them. Sometimes there's small little transaction fees or small little fees here and there, but other than that, the seller pays for that buyer's representation.
What kind of skills do you need to become? What kind of skills does anybody need to become a real estate agent? And why? And why would you want to become a real estate agent?
That's a great question. So the first skill levels, you need to go through 16 hours of courses. Then you got to pass your PSI test, your state and national test. Those tests are fairly relatively hard. From a lot of people from out here, they take multiple times and still do not pass. Then once you go through there, every 2 years, you need continuing education. So the National Association of Realtors are always changing their contracts, their rules, their regulations throughout the process, learning from past experience to better the consumers. From now at the standpoint, every 2 years we have to renew our license. We have to take 14 hours of continuing education as well as 3 hours of code of ethics. Why people like to get into the real estate business is, for me, standpoint was I was in construction half of my life prior to real estate. I was a union bricklayer. I also helped with home renovations and construction and picked up that stuff as well from the houses that I've been in, just tampering with things and learning as I go. It's very time reflecting, and being in a union for myself, I traveled a lot. I had 3 kids. My middle son was sick, needed needles every day. I needed to get in something that opened up my schedule, so I was more there for my family when time is needed, instead of my fiance had to travel 20 minutes out of the way for needles. I spoke to a few friends that were in real estate, and they said, "Hey, you'd be a great fit." I traveled up and down the East Coast growing up. I have respect for everybody out there, different cultures. So I love talking with people, meeting new varieties of people, individuals. So I started thinking about it, and it took some time to really dig deep to make that leap. Because from what I hear, being a realtor, real estate agent, it's a very hard job to do. On a consumer aspect of things, everybody blames you if something goes wrong. There's a lot of more work involved than just showing a home and signing on a dotted line. But looking into a realtor, I knew it was a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, just to try to build that network of clients and contractors and referral networks to pass on to your clients to make their life a lot easier instead of them doing the research themselves. Uh, so it came down to time. I can spend a little bit more time with my family. I was there when my wife really needed me. I can schedule around certain things. I'm my own boss. Real estate agents, realtors, we're pretty much independent contractors under a broker's name. So the way of life, I feel, was a better suited need for me instead of getting back into my own construction field.
Isn't it best for any real estate agent to be really honest with the people? I mean, when I'm saying really honest with the people, if the person knows, and can they do it on their own? Can they actually? Let me rephrase that. Let's start with the does a person that you're trying to sell the home for, suppose they say they have a perfect home, perfect condition, and it's not, and they buy the home, and they start attacking you. Does that happen?
Yeah, that happens from time to time with certain clients. If something goes wrong within the property, everything's unknown. No matter if it's new construction in an older home. I kind of tell everybody, I'll do my best, and it's not our job to really point out all the, possibilities and things on that end. That's what we have home inspections for and things on that end. But from being somewhat in the field, I kind of feel like it's a little responsibility, to help them with the infrastructure of a home. But we're not whole reliable. Sometimes it does reflect back on us, and it always will, because we're the middleman of the thing. Um, but that's something, just like a car. A car always needs maintenance. Anything that you have needs some kind of maintenance. So there's always going to be issues that may occur in the future. That's something we can't predict. You can move into a home the next day, the fridge breaks down, or the roof leaks, and that's something you have to go back into the records, because we have a lot of documentation, seller's disclosure, and things on that end to kind of protect either the buyer and the seller, to be aware of it. The seller has to identify any known defects, as well as their listing agent. If they see something, they have to recommend that to their seller, that they need to make that aware of somebody, because that can fall back. So if a buyer buys a property, something majorly goes wrong, that's something where they can start looking into further actions, speaking with a lawyer. Then it becomes into a legal advice, and pushing to get reimbursed for some things.
But if I go to you and my roof is leaking, but I don't tell you that, and I just want to sell my house. I mean, if I didn't tell you that, and the person moves into that home, and the roof starts leaking and all, who's responsible for that? You or the mortgage company for giving them the mortgage, or the consumer?
Well, if I'm a listing agent and a seller says that the roof doesn't leak, and I notice some kind of leak, I would make that very clear to them, that they have to make that aware to the buyer, because it's not morally right to sell a property for either the highest market value, and somebody moves in for top market, and next thing you know, they got to put a new roof, spend $13,000, $15,000 on a roof. It's not right. Everything has to be fair down the road. You do get your good and your bad through things, and within all industries, you have your good and you have your bad. You just got to really have a thorough home inspection, which helps. But typically, to answer your question, if that is not identified in the seller's property disclosure, or if the listing agent is unaware of things and doesn't notice any defects or things on that end, the buyer will have to go back into the seller's disclosure, and he can take that person in court to assume the cost of things.
Interesting. That's interesting, though. But what do you do now when a person comes to you and doesn't tell you what's wrong with the place, and the mortgage company, aren't you wasting your time? Because especially if they don't get the mortgage, aren't you wasting your time with one client?
What's that? Can you repeat that again?
Well, if a client comes to you and they want this home, but they got bad
Okay.
credit and there's a lot of things wrong, and they don't tell you, and you're spending all this time helping them, and they don't get their mortgage. Is that possible? Do they don't get their mortgage? What do you tell them, or you just drop them?
It happens. It happens. There's times that you get under contract or pre-approved, next thing you know, right before settlement, the mortgage is not approved. Um, it does happen. Sometimes it happens because they may buy a few things and their credit drops, so now they're no longer qualified. Um, yes, it is very time consuming, and I guess depending on some people's eyes, that could put a damper on a lot of things, especially for the buyer as well as the seller. It is a lot of time that is wasted. It's something that could have been prepared or stopped before or prior or fixed before that time gets there. I typically don't like to drop nobody unless we really don't see eye to eye. You know, I would always give somebody a second chance. When people lie, things, because I'm very honest. I let everybody know every step of the way, even for the small details to the biggest details. From the time when I make certain phone calls and appointments and schedulings, I let them know every conversation that I have with either the connection and the referrals from setting up home inspections and other things. It does get frustrating, you know, but that's the nature of our business. But once you get to a certain extent, then sometimes it is better to let that person go, and maybe somebody else can be a better value to them, because we're not always compatible with each individual. So sometimes there's one agent that is a top-notch agent that is, you know, doing everything by the book and does everything proper and is really good at what they do, but they might not be a perfect fit for somebody. You know, somebody else might be. So it's like a matchmaking game in a way as well.
Can they bypass you?
What's that?
Can they bypass you?
Depends. If we typically we like to have a contract in place with either a buyer or a seller. I like to call them an agreement, because I'm dedicated to serving you and doing everything in my power to get you where you want to go, either from buying a property or selling your property to the best value possible, trying to net you the most money. So overall, we like to get some kind of agreements in place to say, hey, I'm going to dedicate myself to you, and I wish you can do the same to me.
If they walk down the street and they see a house for sale and they see a sign on it, can they bypass you and knock on the door, which normally doesn't happen, but can they knock on the door to say, hey, you know, I'm interested, but I don't want to pay a real estate agent? Does that happen?
Yes, that happens, and sometimes it all comes down to the procuring calls of the sale of things. That does happen. If you usually have a contract with somebody, they're well affirmed. I let everybody know, hey, if you see something that I missed, or that, because nowadays everything's online, you know, so a lot of buyers are doing a lot of shopping themselves through Zillow's, realtor.com. Everything from our Bright MLS, through our Trend, through our Marketplace. They broadcast it through all these different websites. They're a little slower and outdated than ours. Ours is more up to speed, more up to date, because that's what the system right goes through. But I let the people know if there's anything that you would like to get into, or something that you've seen that just got listed that's not on the market yet, or have any interest in hear some things, reach out to me. I'll do all the connections. But if they are looking to bypass, there's somebody that I'm not willing to work with no longer. Before, I always gave them that chance and opportunity, but they could have me bouncing back and forth off the walls. I could spend a lot of time on them and start weaning off my other clients. And next thing you know, they drop us, or they start doing things on their own, and that's time wasted that I could be directing to one other client.
Okay, that's good. That's good that you think that way, because who pays you?
Usually on the buyer side, it would be the seller that pays me.
The seller. In other words, the person that's selling the house.
They pay the listing agent, and the listing agent pays the buyer agent. So usually the listing agent will go in and say, this is my commission. Typical average is anywhere from 5 to 6%. Sometimes you can find some agents that are a little lower or might take a reduction, and you have to think about that things too. Just like I would say, mechanic or anybody else, you might find a place that can do your oil change for $20, or you can find somebody that does your oil change for $50. You know, obviously a lot of people like to go cheaper sometimes, but you don't know what kind of service you're getting from them. They might change your oil, but they might not replace your filter. So sometimes the cheapest is not always the best way, but typically who pays, you go, you sit down, go over their agreement. This is my commission, and typically all listing agents split their commission equally with the buyer's agent for whoever brings the buyer to them.
Isn't it best though? I'm finding out the reason why I didn't like was never had an insurance or a real estate agent on the show, because you see they weren't honest enough with the people. Who makes the commission more so? Is it the like if there was a sale in front of the house and they knocked on the door, and the person at the door said, "Well, we're selling our home for 100,000," and you say, "Well, we're selling it for 120,000." What's the purpose of that?
What do you mean by that? If it was listed by an agent?
No, yeah, if it was listed by an agent and you're selling it for 120,000, and the owner says, "Oh, I didn't know that. We're selling it for 100,000," and he wants to bypass it for that person to go through him and not the real estate agent. Is that possible?
That's a lot of legal aspect on that, because usually that listing agent has an agreement with that seller. Now, if that seller opened up and identified that he was willing to take 100,000,
Mm-hmm.
and that's on him, then that buyer can go to either the listing agent, which I would recommend always find your own representation and something on that end, because the listing agent is going to have the best interest of that seller, trying to get the most money in his pocket and make sure that things go smoothly for him. Because if you go to the listing agent, usually that's a dual agency representing both sides of things. So that buyer would just need to find representation, or either do it himself if he's willing to do all that process and paperwork and things on that end, and work out a deal with that listing agent. So with the seller saying that he was willing to take $20,000 less, that's better for the buyer. You know, he can go to that listing agent and say, "Hey, you know, this guy's told me 100,000 he was willing to take." And sometimes that will work, sometimes it won't, because it depends if there's another buyer who's willing to pay that 120,000. You know, that's what it truly comes down to, is the buyers make the market. Right now, we have a small amount of listings and an enormous amount of buyers because of the way the market and the interest rates and everything else are. So you may have 10, 15 buyers on one property wanting that house. So they're going to raise up the price on their own. And that depending is if the house is getting appraised for, you know, because it comes down to appraisals. You know, the house has to appraise for before the bank will lend that money, unless you're buying it cash. Now, buying it cash, it's all on the buyer. If they're willing to pay more than what the market value is, you know, if they truly, really want that house and they know that that's their dream house and they're going to be there forever, nothing has a value on that.
How do you get your business? I know you don't get it through the signs that are in front of a person's house, but how do you get your business?
My business mostly is word through mouth, referrals to past clients, through the time I spend with them, the dedication that I have showed them as well. I don't do that much marketing. I am on Facebook, but I kind of need to start picking it up a little bit more, just to pick up some more work. But mostly, majority of my work has been all through referrals.
Don't you need a gimmick though? I mean, I know no matter how good you are, don't you need a gimmick? Like you said, you're on Facebook and stuff, but don't you need a gimmick for the people to trust you? Because a lot of people, when they want to buy a home, they don't know to just shop around, go riding around. A lot of people tell me they just go riding around and look at the houses. Or
Yeah.
is it best to go to a real estate agent to say, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and I want total honesty, and what do you charge? Is that the best way to go?
Ooh, say that question again.
Okay,
The best way for having a gimmick, it's always good to have, I guess, a sales pitch. You know, I don't look at myself as a salesperson.
Okay.
I look at myself as more as an advisor, assistant, and you know, like a quarterback in football. He helps all the players. He helps the team guide everybody down to win. And that's kind of my standpoint of things. Not big on sales. I don't push for you to get this certain house. I would help you know the flaws, the effects, the possibilities, and just to make sure it's a natural fit. But over in time, I guess, eventually, I think I have to get in a little bit more habit because it does help draw, I guess, more attention and maybe bring more people my way than when we truly sit down. Then, known key, once you sit down with somebody, you're going to know if they're a right fit or not for you, either on the agent side as well as the buyer or listing side. So something. There's agents as well as I turn people away too because sometimes it's not the right fit, and that all depending on personality and things. It's never down to the needs and wants because I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help somebody out, no matter if it takes years to get them there or if it takes a lot more hustle for me to do so. So I'm all inclusive. I do everything from start to finish with some extras if needed down the road.
I know when a client has, especially a client that has credit problems, they want and they see the house that they want. They just got married, they want to buy a home, and that they know they have credit problems, and they think that you don't know. Isn't it better because they're going to get turned down they may
To
get
be
approved by
honest,
you. Yeah, they're going to get turned down by their mortgage company. So isn't it better for you to say, be honest with me, I'll be honest with you, and this is how it's going to go?
it has to be that way. If you're not honest, something's eventually is going to come up, and you're going to waste your time, my time, the seller's time, everybody's time in the whole aspect of things. The best thing, and typically I always sit down. If I refer a broker or loan mortgage person to somebody, I always tell them be truthful and honest with you. Because the first step is getting pre-qualified, and typically they don't ask for all your information. They just go by, honesty and what you're telling them, from your salary to your debt to what your bills are, what your monthly payments on certain things are, from car loans, any loans that you have out. And they go from that and give you a pre-qualification through that process.
So
And
you're
once it
wasting your
starts,
time. You'd be wasting your time then if they gave you all the wrong answers.
of course, yeah. Yeah, and there's people out there that have. There's people that have. And sometimes it's sad, but it's the nature of our business. Not everybody's truthful because they want something. And they're hoping that eventually it would slide through the cracks, and then one of them come up and they can possibly get that property. But when it comes down to the banks have their guidelines and they do a thorough check to make sure that you can afford a property.
How far do you go? Let's suppose me, a personal. I want to move to Florida.
Awesome.
Can you help me there? Can you help a client there?
Of course, I can't personally, but I can be with you through the whole step of the process.
Okay.
But typically, I have agents in that area that I can reach out that I trust. Or if I don't know anybody in that certain area, I have a pipeline of people I can reach out to find out who they trust and know that would do the job right.
Good. That's good. So people can go anywhere they want in the whole United States.
Yeah, I recently had somebody selling their property, moving down to Florida, St. Augustine, Florida. And we connected with an agent down there, and come to find out that agent was from this area in Jameson, PA. And he's a good guy. He helped her out, and everything ran smoothly.
Isn't it a person that says, "Oh, this is the guy that helped me with my real estate. This is the guy that helped me." The referral side is the best way to go for you.
Referrals are always the best way, because typically when you work with somebody, and somebody refers somebody to you from somebody that you worked with in the past, typically, they're going to be similar to them in a way, of honesty, uprights, it's their friends or their family. So that's more ideal because we kind of know what we're getting into, or they would be more honest and open with us because they know their friends or family gives an insight on us, so they know what to expect from us, and we kind of have an idea what to expect from them as well.
Well, if I sat down with you and said to you, "I want to buy a home in Montgomery County," What are the questions you need to know from me? Like if a client, any client, not just me, but what questions? If I said I want to buy a home in Montgomery County, I didn't tell you anything about me. What are the questions you would ask of me?
The first few questions, pretty much, I would kind of narrow it down whereabouts in Montgomery County. What kind of home style are you looking for, from condo, townhouse, single family? Um, go through the whole criteria. And first of all, the most important question would be knowing if you're pre-qualified. Excuse me. Once we know you're pre-qualified, we go into a third and search a little bit more into depth of, do you have a certain school district? What is your monthly budget? And that's important too, because you can be qualified for a specific amount, 300,000, but you're only comfortable paying $1,500 a month. So it doesn't mean if you get qualified for 300,000 doesn't mean you have to use that whole loan amount. The biggest thing is getting into a home that you're going to be comfortable with on a monthly basis. So I try to get into depth where your comfort zone is, where you're comfortable paying monthly, what school districts you prefer, if you have any children, what kind of house, what kind of amenities do you like, what do you need around you to help your lifestyle, what kind of lifestyle do you live? Do you like to be closer to the city, more closer, tighter homes, something with an open yard? What kind of finances do you have? Deposit money? Do you need assistance with grants? Or would you need assistance from seller's concession, which is seller's assist, which you can apply from each, depending on which house you go after. Some sellers are willing to give you money towards the closing cost.
If somebody wants to purchase a home, and this is my biggest beef from a lot of clients, and I tell them not to do it, is cosign. And I tell them not to do it. The cosign is because some of the reason why I'm against real estate, because I never did say that, is a lot of real estate agents that I did see that I didn't know would tell the person, this is the home you want. It could be like 200,000, but they can only afford 100,000, and they thought the real estate was giving them justice, and they weren't. They were really hurting them. And then they would say, well, get a cosigner. I'm against cosigners because the cosigner, if they didn't pay it, if the main person didn't pay it, that they
They'll
could
come back to the cosigner.
exactly. So this is why I said real estate agents have to be honest with these people. And are you that kind of person to say, hey, you can't afford this? Suppose they see a home for 200,000. Are you that kind of person to say, you can't afford this home? I'm looking at your
Of
income.
course, I would never force nobody into a home and something that I've been in that situation in the past, and in my upbringing, I would not be able to sleep at night knowing that somebody else is struggling, and I had something to do with it. I always bring up your comfortable ability. I double check, and sometimes, from what I hear, that's not the best thing to do sometimes, but just to make sure that I know that person's well taken care of and they're not going to struggle. It's just good practice overall. Just make sure that, because a lot of agents, typically, I don't know anybody that would truly force anybody into something like that, because if you do wrong to one person, that one person could send you a bunch of referrals because you did right for them. So that's the bottom line when it comes to things. Agents truly are not going to try to jeopardize your well-being or anything on that end just to make a sale. 100,000, we don't really truly make a lot of money. Depending on how many sales we have, that's the volume and things on that, and that's eventually once you start getting up there in the higher levels. But over 100,000 or so for 200,000, it's a bill, a monthly payment bill, possibly, because we share our percentage through our broker. Once we get paid, our broker takes a split from that as well. Then from our split, we have to pay taxes, our marketing, and our deductions from that as well. So I would never steer nobody to get into something and ask for a cosigner if they wouldn't feel comfortable doing so. Sometimes I have dealt with a cosigner just for certain aspect of things, but that wasn't going over somebody's budget or mortgage.
A lot of real estate agents were doing that. Believe me, a lot of estate agents were doing that. And that was the wrongdoing. They would sell the houses more than the person can afford and make, and they had a bad
Yes.
reputation for doing it. And then it was told to me as an advocate, and I would contact the agent by saying, why did you do this? Why did you sell them a house that was so expensive they couldn't even afford it? But they were doing it, they said, for the commission. How do you make your commission?
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
How
That
do you
was
make
just
how do you make
shocking.
your commission? How do you make your commission?
How do I make my commission?
Mm-hmm.
After settlement. That's the only time we get paid, is once a buyer or a seller goes to that closing table and signs over that house. And once the seller pays the title company pays us, and we take our money to our broker. Then a few days, a week goes by, then we finally get paid from that job.
Now, are you honest with the person when you sit them down? Do you say, hey, you can afford this home? Let's go over it. We're going to give you a mortgage. This, and this is how you're going to get your referrals. Are you that honest with the person?
Of course, yeah. All agents, all realtors, we have to give you a buyer's estimate sheet. Prior to signing a contract or agreement of sale to purchase or put an offer on that property. We have a format, and as well as your mortgage company can do the same for you. Their numbers are a little bit more accurate, because it comes in with the mortgage fees and everything else that populates with that. But typically, we have a buyer's estimate closing cost sheet. It's going to show you what your purchase price is, what your down payment is, what your taxes are, and the bottom line of what you have to reimburse the seller for, depending on the time of year for school taxes, closing costs, inspections. It's going to break down everything onto that sheet, plus transfer tax. Then on the bottom, it's going to show you an estimate of your monthly payment.
How about if a person filed bankruptcy? Do you take them?
Usually file bankruptcy, a mortgage person would not qualify them. You have to wait a good 2 years or so.
Okay, so you would actually say I can't show you homes because you filed bankruptcy?
Typically, we don't like to show homes unless you're pre-qualified. If you can't buy a property, why waste your time or the seller's time opening up the doors for you if we know that you can't fully buy more property right then and there? Because one of my biggest thing is, and this is what I tell clients and consumers is, I would love to take you to show you any house, honestly. I'll take you wherever you want to go, see whatever you want to see. But I don't want to waste your time if you're not pre-qualified to show you a home and you fall in love with this home. The next thing you know that you can't get it. That's heartbreaking. That lets a lot of people down. And that could have, with certain people, major effects on their ability, mental capacity and things on that. And it truly breaks them and gets them down and starts sometimes making them believe that, they're never going to get there. So I never truly turn nobody away, even with bankruptcy. I still work with them and say, hey, either let's look for a rental property until the time is right, until you can buy a property. I won't fully push them out the door. It's like, oh no, you got a bankruptcy, you got bad credit. I don't even want to talk to you. I'm never that way. I would sit down, talk with you, and try to come out with a game plan to see when the right time is for you and try to educate you throughout that process.
The economy today, how is the economy today when it comes to selling homes?
Economies are still strong. There's very strong with selling homes. Our market, it's a little slower. We're down numbers of house-wise from the previous years. That's just because of the amount of buyers that are out there.
Because the mortgage companies now, there's 4 mortgage companies that went out of business because of the homes not being sold, and they were losing business, the mortgage companies.
Yeah, homes are being sold, no matter if they're in the best shape or not.
Okay.
Even because you got all type of homes. Nothing as you see on TV. The process and what you see on HDTV, that's nothing what you see. That's all edited, cut versions to get viewings and things on that end. I've seen a lot of homes that have been fully outdated are still selling. The biggest issue is not having enough homes on the market to accommodate the numbers of buyers that we have now.
Is it better for me, like a home owner, is it better for me going to a real estate or trying to sell the home on my own?
Depends on your schedule. Depends on your negotiation skills. You're willing to and try it out, all that you can. But the longer days you sit on the market, let's just say you try to sell the property yourself, there's some paperwork, documentations that you need. And if an agent comes through, their negotiation skills are a little higher, possibly, depending on your background and things on that end. But if you turn away somebody instead of trying to negotiate with them and meet in the middle, the possibilities of having somebody else right behind them are maybe be slim to none, or that word gets around. I always, in best practice, if you're willing to go through that process, because your schedule is going to have to open up tremendously if you're trying to sell the house yourself. You don't want to turn away showings. You don't want to turn any prospect buyers away from showing your property. Your follow-up, you want to be consistently following up with them, because if not, 5 minutes go by, they could be at somebody else's house buying their house because you missed their call or you didn't follow up. So having a busy schedule with your work life, family life, it is a good thing to invest in a realtor, because he's going to have your back. He or she, they will have your back and do all the work that needs to be done.
A lot of my clients, when they call, the questions that they ask, it was interesting. They think, like with you, I think, you have to be a really honest real estate agent to sit that person down and say it like it is. And a lot of real estate agents won't do that. They make the person guess. They think that, you went to school for it. They didn't, so they don't know what to expect. But then they don't know what to expect. They think they could just knock on the door to say, how much are you selling for this home, instead of going to a real estate, not knowing what's involved with it. So I believe it's all up to the real estate agent to get more personal with the people.
Yeah, very personal.
And honest with the people, so they trust you. So even if the house owner says, well, this is what we're going for, they're going to trust you more than they will them. Am I right?
Yeah, of course. That seller's trying to sell his house. He's going to try to sell his house above market value, most likely, just to see if somebody's willing to pay that to put more money in his pocket. And as a buyer's agent, so us agents, we can represent sellers, buyers, depending on each prospect of things. But for a buyer's representation, we would do our market analysis, comparables, and go through to evaluate any similar properties and see if that was a correct price to be worth it in your eyes, as well as the bank eyes, to get it appraised, to make sure that you're not overpaying and things on that end. Anybody can do, honestly, anything that they possibly want if they set their minds to it. But as an agent, a realtor, we do more thorough research. We've been in it for a lot longer. We know how the market trends go. We know, all the in and outs to possibly try to get that price down. Because you go to a seller and say, hey, I know that house sold down there, but you're selling this, that guy might not budge, because he might think of you honestly as a fool, or just try to take advantage of you. So having an agent, it's just a line of respect, professionalism that we can show amongst each other, and eventually find a middle ground.
No, what about, okay, you live in a home and you're selling your home and you want to hire a real estate agent, and the home next to you is being sold. They're being sold for $20,000 more than your home is going to the real estate. Isn't it your job as a real estate to say, hey, next door is going more, let's ask for more, or you don't care?
There's a different strategies on marketing. I do care. I try to get the most out of it. So sometimes you have to look at the home that's being sold for $20,000 more. Does he have anything different compared to your property? Does your home have rugs? Does his property have natural hardwood floors throughout? Or does he have an addition on the back? Or does he have a basement? Or is it oil heat compared to gas heat? Or does he have crown molding? A lot of small aspects can bring a lot more value to a basic home compared to an upgraded home. But if everything's the same and equal, I definitely would go to that seller and say, hey, they're selling for this price. Let's either list it for their price, or maybe list it for a little higher, or maybe a little less. We don't know which way it would go, and I can't promise you anything, but we would do the best to try to either match that or get something close to it, or maybe slightly higher.
How long? How long? If you see a sign outside and it's there for 6 months, what's wrong with this picture?
A lot of people always think a home that sits on the market for way long, something is majorly wrong. Sometimes that's not always the case. You have to do a little bit more research. Maybe a buyer's finances fell through. You know, um, Usually start from finish. Once you under contract, typically it's a 45 days until closing. Sometimes every buyer's different. Every buyer's scenario is different. Maybe they had their lease up in 60 days, so they want this house, and that seller is willing to accept that long time period. Next thing you know, right before settlement, their finances fall through. So they have to put that house back on the market. Or something came up in inspections and they couldn't negotiate terms, and they have to put the house back on the market.
I
So
think
that
that's the real estate. I think that's the problem and the fault of the real estate because they think, and I know from consumers, they think if a house is on the market for that long, even a year, they think there's something wrong with the home or they're asking too much. Am I right or wrong?
Oh yeah, of course. Usually it's overvalued. Most likely a house sits on the market. It's either location, pricing. They're the two biggest things in real estate: the pricing and location, condition as well. So three things that you have to look for. Location is a big key factor. Depending if you're on a major road or cul-de-sac or close to high power lines. A lot of different amenities or things close by have a factor into your property. It's not just your house. Your house can be extremely gorgeous, but next thing you know, right in the backyard, it could be a huge warehouse that nobody wants to have that near them, or your price. Some people out there want $50,000 more for the property, feels that their home is worth it because they put a lot of love, a lot of care into the property over the years. They truly feel that their home is worth more than what it's worth. And sometimes it does come down to, understanding of the market and what the houses go for. And you can't have that, I guess, when you're trying to sell your property, you got to kind of step aside to it and look at it as a buyer standpoint. You can't look at it as your home anymore. You want to sell your property. The home is, in aspects, no longer yours in a way because you no longer want it. You want to sell it to somebody else and let them start their family living there. So you have to kind of look at it at that point.
Okay, from beginning to end, how long does it, or you don't know, how long does it normally take for a house to sell from beginning to end through the whole process?
It depends on the market, the area, the location, township, city, neighborhood, school districts. Everything has a factor of pricing and things on that. But typical on average, locally in Bucks, Montgomery County, typically once you put that sign out front, depending on the condition of your home, the condition is very well. Typically, it's within the first 2 weeks you are under contract on average. Then from there, from under contract, typically around 45 days.
What is the perfect
So it
client?
can take a good 2 to 3 months,
Okay,
maybe
2 or 3 months.
up to 3 to 6 months, start to finish.
Okay, what's a perfect client to you?
Perfect client, as we spoke about, honesty. Somebody that is very truthful, very foregoing. Communication is key. Of staying on top of things. I call you, I have questions. You get back to me as soon as you can, and just let me know, as I'm going to do the same to you. And somebody that I think that's the biggest thing: loyalty, integrity, and honesty. Because that's one of my bylaws that I live by. As growing up in a military family, of just having that respect for others and just giving the respect back. Because give the respect back, I will go the distance for anything you possibly need. And I would never go away either. If you ever need me anything down the road, I'm always here. Give me a call. You have a question about something, give me a call. If you need help with something, I'm here. If I can't do it, I might have somebody that I trust and I can refer to you as well.
Boy, I definitely would hire you all the way with the real estate because then you can do my construction after you're in there.
I got a bad back. That's one of the reasons too I got out.
Okay. You know how now,
But it is a possibility.
what is the perfect, and do you tell them or you don't tell them? What is the perfect client? Like if I came to you and they have a good job, they have a bank account, and you know it, and they're paying their, is that the perfect client to you, or you have to work for each one?
You got to work for each one. Some clients are different. Some clients, as soon as you meet them,
Hmm.
2 days go by, they're on a contract, and you meet them for 2, 3 months, and their file's closed. Not fully closed, but the mission is done. They got what they wanted. They got their dream home or their beginner's home, or their retirement home. And some clients you work, with them for a year, and you're still on that perfect hunt for that perfect property. My perfect client, in all honesty, is not about their pockets, what size home they're buying, how much amount they're buying. Is truly is appreciation, of honesty and appreciation, and saying, gratitude.
Well, I would be referring you. I definitely would be referring you to my clients, but give the clients how to get a hold of you and your number.
They can get a hold of me. My office, I work for Remax Center Realtors out in Jameson, PA, off of York Road. They can give the office a call at 215-343-8200. My extension is 193, or they can call my personal phone number is 215-421-8956. My email address is sellingphillyburbs@gmail.com, or they can look me up on Facebook at Selling Philly Burbs.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you for even coming on the show. I'm going to be talking about credit now, but thank you for coming on the show. You
Yeah.
gave a lot of good information to the people, and I will be referring because a lot of people wants those answers. They think everybody's ripping them off, including myself. I thought real estates were ripping people off. But thank you, and have a Merry Christmas as well.
Thank you so much, Pearl. I appreciate you for having me on the show. God bless you and the family, and happy holidays.
Same to you with it. I want to go into we had the mortgage guy on a few weeks ago. Now with the real estate, and naturally I do credit, but I think everything the consumer comes first. You don't just go into a
Yes.
home. You don't go into a home, and then the mortgage company will turn you away, and then everybody turns you away because the person will say, well, I'm not sure if I got a credit problem or not. You know, if you have a credit problem, you definitely know what's wrong, and if you have a credit problem, can it be
Of course.
corrected? Can it be corrected? Of course it could be corrected. I have a special running from now to January 1st. It's a good special running for your credit. Don't procrastinate. If you're looking for a home, a lot of clients will call me to say, Pearl, I'm looking for a mortgage. And I'll say, did you get your home yet? Not yet. Well, you're not doing your homework either because it's first you make sure you have good credit. And good credit is for a couple reasons. So you don't need a cosigner, you don't need your mother and father. And the second thing is after you have good credit to make sure you can get that mortgage. And then when you see a home, you call them up and you ask them 20,000 questions. You're not bothering them, as you heard Anthony say. You can call him up anytime you want. You could actually contact him to say, I seen this home. I know Anthony loves the people that pays cash and pays it in full. I know a couple people that does that. It's amazing. When you pay it in full, you got it, and the real estate agent is happy, and everybody's happy with it. But it's if you got to start in the new year, do your homework. If you see a home and you're riding around and you see a sign, if you want to call up, that's another question I wanted to ask him. I hope he's still there. If you're riding around and you see a sign and there's a real estate number and name on it, can they call you instead of calling that real estate sign?
Of course. Yeah, that real estate sign is the listing agent. So you
Okay.
can call that listing agent. It's your choice. You can call whoever you wish to choose from, or you can call your person that you want to choose to represent you.
Okay, so it
You
goes
know.
with it. But the whole thing of 2020, let's make next year the best year possible where mortgage companies are not going out of business. Real estate agents are busy because of their homes, and the people are making good money, and can afford the homes that they purchase, and they're not skeptical that they're being lied to. So the first thing I believe is your credit, to make sure you have a good credit score. Second thing is to make sure you have money in the bank that you are saving to put down on a home. Third thing is to contact the real estate agent. Now you have his name. You have his number. And then the fourth thing is through the mortgage. And there you are. You're in your new home for the new year. You don't have no worries, no credit problems. And, I'm sure he's always there if you have questions to ask him. I know the mortgage company's always there if you have questions. And I'm always there if you have questions. This year went so fast, and everybody, I really hope sincerely that everybody has a happy holiday this year, and at best next year. I'm going to make sure that a lot of people will have their credit done where they can get the homes of their choice and be really good with their mortgages. That's why I wanted a mortgage guy on the show and a real estate. We're going to have a lot of hot shows on this show, people that you won't even be expecting that I'm going to do shows with. You're going to be surprised with. But if you have a show that you want me to address, I don't care how good it is or how bad it is, contact me at 1-800-876-CREDIT, my toll-free number. But if you have a credit problem, it's not the end of the year yet. You're getting a big discount. Call me up with any question. Don't say, well, Pearl, I know you're busy. Call me up anyway, because I'm always there for my clients. I have to be there for my clients, because that's what makes the world go round, to make it tick. And he feels this way too. And last week, the attorney, she was a waitress when she started out. Interesting. And look at this guy. He's a contractor. So you never know where you're going to lead or where you're leading to in the profession that it's coming to. And even the people that I work with, they're so sincere to the people, honest to the people. If you want a house and you don't know what to do, call Anthony up. Call Anthony and say, Anthony, I just heard the show, watched you. Is there any? That's another thing I want to ask you. If they say to you, is there any houses that you know for sale around this area? I know a few people that says this is the area that I want. Can you show me some of these houses in this area? Can you?
Of course, I can look up wherever they want in Pennsylvania. I've been thinking about getting my Jersey license as well.
Okay. So wherever state you in, you have to get that license. Am I right?
Of course.
Okay. This is going to be a good year. I think 2020 is going to be a better year for a lot of people, because now they got what they want. They know what they want. They're getting educated. And the same with you. Any questions that you have to ask or make statements at the end of the show, Anthony?
No, I think I'm good right now. I think everything turned out perfect, and I'm very grateful and blessed to have everything right now. God bless everybody, and happy 2020 coming soon.
Isn't that something? And we're all going to make tons and tons and tons. I love my job because I'm getting in the credit. I'm against bankruptcy. That's why I asked you about the bankruptcy. I'm against it. I call it the 10-year curse for a reason, because once it's on there, it's on there. You can't remove it. If something is on there that's negative, it can be removed in 30 days. And a lot of companies don't understand that. A lot of real estates don't understand it. A lot of mortgage companies don't understand it. They'll say, well, I need this off. And it's wrong. This is where I pick and choose my clients and pick and choose the companies that I deal with for my clients, because they're honest with the people. They're going to say it like it is, and I love it, because no matter how bad it is, I said to the guest last week, the attorney, no matter how bad she thinks the clients think of her, she's going to be honest with them, and that's the good part. And the same with you. You care about the people. You care about the people. And so I think you're going to have a great holiday this year, and you're on it live. It's going to be there for ages. And if you're looking for a home, Anthony's the person. How come they call you Anthony, not Tony?
My family called me Tony growing up. Once I got a little older, I started liking Anthony. It sounds more professional. My father's named Tony, and kind of just wanted, I guess, to have my own separation and things, and Anthony, I felt, was more in the direction I was going to. Okay. Tony just sounds unprofessional or just young kid, and I don't know. I guess it's something just growing up, getting Tony the Tiger and all these other names. I felt like Anthony, they couldn't say much about.
I'll be honest with you. I've dealt with a lot of real estate agents. That's why I never wanted to have a real estate show on, because I didn't trust them. I didn't like them. I didn't trust them. They didn't have the right answers. I do trust you. To all the consumers out there, I trust him. He's going to give you the right answer. He's going to make sure you're not going overboard. If you see $100,000 home and you're only calling for a $50,000 home, he's going to be honest with you and tell you you can't afford this. So this is the kind of person that you need. You need this kind of person all the way down. You need the credit, you need the real estate, you need the mortgage, and you are in your home. And after you're in there, then you gotta pay the price and making sure you stay in there, because that's going to be one of our shows too. I'm going to have a show where people they don't know what they want and they're all over the page with it. Thank you again, Anthony, for coming on the show. I can't thank you enough, and you made it go so smooth and so nice and so fast. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pearl. I appreciate your time.
Okay, we're getting to the end. Thank you, everybody. Have a happy and Merry Christmas out there. Thank you.